200 rescuers, $100,000, and 72 hours that would either make history or become a tragedy. Emily Davis Mobley's screams had faded to whispers in the suffocating darkness of Lechuguilla Cave, her leg crushed beneath a boulder that had waited millions of years to fall. 3 days earlier, Emily woke before dawn in Carlsbad, New Mexico, with that familiar surge of excitement that preceded every major expedition. At 40, she was among the country's most experienced cavers, with 2 decades of underground exploration etched into her weathered hands and reflected in her quietly confident eyes. 3 days earlier, Emily woke before dawn in Carlsbad, New Mexico, with that familiar surge of excitement that preceded every major. This expedition represented months of careful planning. Lechuguilla Cave, Lech to those who knew her, was one of Earth's deepest and most complex systems, stretching over 140 miles through the Guadalupe Mountains and descending nearly 1,600 feet below the surface. What made Lech truly special wasn't just her size, but her pristine condition. Unlike commercialized tourist caves, she remained largely untouched, accessible only to experienced cavers with strict scientific permits. Emily's 6-person team had been carefully selected. Marcus, a geologist specializing in formations. Sarah, a photographer documenting unexplored sections. Tom, a hydrologist studying underground water systems. Each brought decades of experience and shared passion for discovery. Their mission was ambitious: map the far reaches, a remote section discovered the previous year but never fully explored. This area lay at the extreme end of one of Lech's longest passages, accessible only after hours of challenging navigation through some of the cave's most difficult terrain. The team assembled at sunrise, the desert landscape painted in gold and amber. Lechuguilla's entrance was deceptively simple: a steel grate set into the limestone hillside, protecting the delicate ecosystem within. Only a few dozen people entered each year, making this expedition a rare privilege. The team assembled at sunrise, the desert landscape painted in gold and amber. Lechuguilla's entrance was deceptively simple: a steel grate set. Emily performed her ritual equipment check. Multiple light sources with backup batteries, emergency supplies, first aid kit, surveying equipment, specialized gear for the tightest passages. Every item represented years of accumulated knowledge about surviving in unforgiving underground environments. They descended through the entrance, leaving behind desert warmth for the cave's constant 56 degrees. The initial passage was spacious, allowing them to walk upright through galleries decorated with stunning flowstone formations. Their lights revealed impossible beauty: walls like frozen waterfalls, ceilings adorned with delicate minerals, floors carpeted with ancient cave pearls. As they progressed deeper, Lech began revealing her true character. Passages narrowed, forcing them to remove packs and squeeze through gaps barely wide enough for human bodies. The air grew thick and humid, carrying the distinctive smell of deep earth and ancient water. Emily led naturally, her smaller frame ideal for navigating tight passages. She moved with fluid grace earned through years underground, reading the cave's moods and anticipating challenges. Behind her, the team followed single file, their lights creating a train of illumination through eternal darkness. The journey to the far reaches took them through Lechuguilla's most spectacular terrain. They rappelled down vertical shafts, disappearing into inky voids. They traversed narrow ledges above underground canyons where one misstep meant certain death. They crawled through passages so low the ceiling pressed against their backs, moving like insects through the mountain's bowels. The journey to the far reaches took them through Lechuguilla's most spectacular terrain. They rappelled down vertical shafts. Hours passed as they navigated this underground obstacle course. The team moved efficiently but carefully, acutely aware that cave rescue was notoriously difficult and expensive, potentially requiring days to mobilize specialized teams. Prevention was always preferable to rescue. The far reaches lived up to their reputation. Passages became increasingly narrow and complex, branching in multiple directions that could confuse even experienced navigators. The team marked their route carefully, leaving small pieces of surveyor's tape at key decision points to ensure safe return. The air felt different here, thinner, more oppressive, as if the mountain's weight was pressing down. Their voices echoed strangely in confined spaces, creating an otherworldly atmosphere that reminded them how far they were from the surface world. Emily paused at a particularly challenging squeeze, a narrow passage twisting through limestone like a stone serpent. The opening was barely 18 inches wide, requiring her to remove her pack and push it ahead while contorting her body to fit. She had navigated similar passages countless times, but each presented unique challenges. The walls were rough and jagged, scarred by acidic water that had carved them over geological time. Every surface seemed designed to catch equipment, and humidity made everything slippery. Emily moved slowly, testing each placement before committing her weight. Halfway through, she encountered a slight upward slope where the floor rose to meet a massive boulder fallen from the ceiling centuries ago. The boulder created a natural step, but its surface was wet from constant mineral-rich dripping. As Emily placed her hand on the stone, she felt it shift slightly. For a moment, she hesitated. Her caver's instincts warned of danger. The boulder appeared stable, wedged between floor and ceiling, but something troubled her. She had learned to trust these subtle warnings, unconscious observations that had kept her safe in dangerous environments. But the passage offered no alternative, and the boulder seemed secure enough. Emily had climbed similar obstacles hundreds of times. She committed to the move, pulling herself up onto the stone surface. The boulder held momentarily, long enough for confidence. Then, with grinding stone against stone, it shifted. Ancient limestone weakened by water seepage, its connection eroded by time and geology, finally surrendered to human weight. Emily felt the movement and tried to leap clear, but the confined space offered no escape. The multi-ton boulder rolled forward and down, trapping her left leg against the jagged floor. Pain was immediate and overwhelming, sending shock waves through her entire body. Her screams echoed through the narrow passage, alerting teammates that something had gone terribly wrong. The sound carried through acoustic channels, distorted by rock walls, into an otherworldly cry speaking of serious injury and immediate danger. Marcus, following Emily through the passage, heard her cries and immediately began working forward. The narrow confines made movement difficult, forcing him to push his pack behind to create space. When he finally reached Emily, the sight was worse than feared. The massive boulder pinned Emily's leg against the cave floor. Her face was contorted with pain and shock, blood seeping from multiple wounds where jagged rock had torn through clothing and skin. Her breathing was rapid and shallow, classic signs of someone fighting pain and rising panic. The team mobilized quickly, assessing the situation and beginning emergency treatment. Sarah, with extensive wilderness first aid training, checked Emily's vital signs and evaluated injuries. The boulder was too heavy to move with available equipment, but they had to act quickly to prevent shock. Tom and others began the delicate process of shifting the boulder, using limited gear to create leverage. Every movement caused Emily additional pain, but they had no choice. Leaving her trapped while seeking help was unthinkable in such a remote location. After what felt like hours, but was probably minutes, they managed to shift the boulder enough to free Emily's leg. Relief was immediate but short-lived as they assessed the damage. Her leg was badly injured with obvious fractures and significant soft tissue damage. The bone was clearly broken, and internal injuries were impossible to determine in limited lighting. Sarah worked quickly to stabilize Emily's leg, using emergency supplies to create a makeshift splint. Their first aid kit was comprehensive, designed for exactly this emergency, but everyone understood Emily needed professional medical attention immediately. The challenge now was evacuation. They were 2 miles from the entrance, separated by some of Lechuguilla's most difficult terrain. The passages they had navigated were barely wide enough for one person, let alone someone on a stretcher. The vertical drops and technical climbs that had challenged them coming in would be nearly impossible while carrying an injured person. Tom made the difficult decision to leave Emily with Sarah and Marcus, while he and others made the grueling journey to summon help. Communication with the outside world was impossible from their location. Someone had to physically carry word to the surface. The journey out was a nightmare of urgency and frustration. Every passing minute meant Emily was suffering in the depths, but terrain forced careful movement to avoid additional casualties. They pushed themselves to endurance limits, navigating by memory and instinct through passages that seemed endless. When they finally reached the surface, desert sun was setting, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and purples that seemed surreal after hours in eternal darkness. Tom immediately contacted the National Cave Rescue Commission, setting in motion one of the most complex underground rescue operations in American history. Response was immediate and massive. Within hours, rescue teams converged on Lechuguilla from across the country. The operation would eventually involve over 200 people, including the world's most experienced cave rescue specialists. The logistics were staggering. Getting equipment and personnel to Emily's location would require carefully orchestrated effort, pushing technical rescue capabilities to their limits. The first challenge was simply reaching Emily. Rescue teams had to navigate the same difficult terrain, but now carrying significantly more equipment. Stretchers, medical supplies, rope systems, and communication gear all had to be transported through passages barely wide enough for human bodies. The cave's three-dimensional nature made rescue exponentially more complex than typical mountain or wilderness emergencies. Traditional helicopter evacuations were impossible, and narrow passages eliminated most conventional techniques. Every piece of equipment had to be specifically designed or modified for underground use. Dr. Patricia Williams, one of the country's leading wilderness medicine physicians, was part of the initial team that reached Emily. She found her patient in remarkably good condition considering the circumstances. Emily's experience had served her well. She understood the importance of staying calm and conserving energy, and her knowledge of rescue procedures made her an active participant in planning her own evacuation. Emily's first request, after receiving pain medication, was for pizza. The seemingly light-hearted comment broke tension and reminded everyone that despite serious injuries, her spirit remained unbroken. Her ability to find humor in such dire circumstances testified to the mental toughness that had made her one of the country's most respected cavers. The medical team worked to stabilize Emily, while technical specialists began the complex evacuation process. Her leg was properly splinted and immobilized for lines established for pain relief and shock prevention. The team also considered psychological aspects. Being trapped underground for extended periods could be as challenging mentally as physically. The evacuation itself was a masterpiece of technical rescue work. Teams of specialists worked in relays, moving Emily through the cave system in carefully planned stages. Each route section required different techniques and equipment, from hauling systems for vertical passages to specialized stretchers for narrow crawlways. The most challenging aspect was maintaining Emily's medical stability throughout evacuation. Constant movement and changing positions stressed her injuries, and the cave environment made monitoring her condition difficult. The medical team had to balance speed requirements with preventing further injury. Communication was another major challenge. The cave's depth and complex geology made radio contact difficult or impossible in many sections. Messages had to be relayed through human chains, with cavers positioned at key points throughout the system to pass information between rescue teams and surface command. The rescue operation continued around the clock, with teams working in shifts to prevent exhaustion. Cave rescue physical demands are enormous, and maintaining the energy and focus required for safe operations over multiple days required careful personnel and resource management. Emily remained conscious and alert throughout most of the evacuation, providing valuable input on rescue techniques and helping guide teams through particularly challenging sections. Her experience and cave system knowledge made her an invaluable resource, and her calm demeanor helped maintain morale among rescue teams. As evacuation progressed, the operation's complexity became clear to outside observers. Rescue costs climbed rapidly, eventually exceeding $100,000. The expense reflected not just personnel numbers, but specialized equipment and logistical support required for such operations. Final rescue stages took place near the cave entrance, where passages were wider but still presented significant challenges. The last major obstacle was a near-vertical climb requiring precise coordination and enormous physical effort from rescue teams. Emily had been underground for 3 days, and everyone was exhausted from sustained effort. The moment Emily finally emerged was captured by news cameras documenting the operation. It was 12:15 a.m. when she was lifted from the entrance, nearly 72 hours after the accident. The assembled crowd of rescue personnel, media, and concerned cavers erupted in cheers as she was placed in the waiting ambulance. Emily was immediately transported to a trauma center in Lubbock, Texas, where orthopedic surgeons worked to repair extensive leg damage. The fractures were complex, requiring multiple surgeries and months of rehabilitation. Soft tissue damage was equally serious, with concerns about long-term function and mobility. Despite injury severity, Emily's prognosis was relatively good. Her excellent physical condition and positive attitude contributed to recovery that surprised even her doctors. The psychological impact was perhaps more challenging than physical injuries, as she had to overcome fear and trauma associated with her underground ordeal. The rescue operation became a case study in technical rescue techniques and interagency cooperation. Emily's successful evacuation from such a remote and challenging location demonstrated American cave rescue community capabilities and led to equipment and procedure improvements benefiting future operations. Emily's accident also sparked discussions about risks and responsibilities associated with extreme caving. While the rescue was successful, it highlighted enormous costs and resources required when things go wrong in remote underground environments. The incident led to renewed emphasis on safety protocols and emergency preparedness within the caving community. For Emily herself, the experience was both traumatic and transformative. She eventually returned to caving, though with a more cautious approach and deeper appreciation for risks involved. Her knowledge and experience made her a valuable resource for training other cavers in safety techniques and emergency procedures. The Lechuguilla Cave Rescue remained one of the most complex and expensive cave rescue operations in American history. It demonstrated both the incredible beauty and deadly dangers of the underground world and the remarkable dedication of volunteers who risked their own lives to save others. Emily's survival was testament to human resilience, the power of teamwork, and the unwavering commitment of the rescue community to leave no one behind in the depths of the earth. The incident occurred in April 2004, adding another chapter to the long history of exploration and rescue in one of America's most challenging and beautiful cave systems.